everybody. Pastor Randy here. Welcome back to Making It Simple. We're in our next part of where did it fall? Now that question, of course, it could go all kinds of different places because it all depends on what we are attaching that to. But as we look back at the concept that is built, this story of the broken axe and the axe head falling into the river and all the dilemma about that. It drives us to a further place when we begin to look at the question, where did it fall? Because that takes us back to an original statement. That takes us back to where did the problem start? So we said yesterday, if we're going to find the broken axe head, we actually have to go back to the garden. The story that we're given of how creation came to be and the understanding of our way of doing things. And so we have to go back there. And I left us off with understanding, okay, God had given clear instructions. He told Adam and Eve, everything here that you need is yours. Just take care of it. There's just one thing I don't want you to do. One thing you need to leave alone. And he gave them that instruction. It was clear, all right? It was clear. And he said to them, if you don't, here's the circumstance, if you will. Here's the consequence of disobedience. Now, one would say, again, as I mentioned yesterday, why would that be? Well, because again, there needed to be clarity of your intent. Where's your heart? Because if you're predetermined, if you're made, if you will, to be one thing, then that's not real. Because that's a created object in that a battery or a light bulb, or that's all it does, because it has no other say. We're not created in that way. We're created to be what we are. And so this is the beginning of understanding that ability to make decisions. And so God presented a decision before them. What would you choose? What will you do? Where did it fall? It has to go back there. Where did everything start? So God made it clear. He said, leave this one thing alone. But if you choose not to, just understand that on that day, you will surely die. Now that sounds foreign to them at that time, because what was death? There was no understanding of that in the thought process, because what did that mean? Now we read that now and we look and we take it a little bit differently because we understand the concept of death from the emotional, from the literal, all this stuff. But that's not what he meant. What he meant was on that day, our fellowship is broken. That doesn't mean it can't be restored. And although we're not talking about justifying wrong, but that's not what he said. Everything will change between us at that point, and their relationship forever changed at that point. However, what we find is God's point was clear. The point was made, and there was no question about what he said. It was abundantly clear. You will surely die. Okay, so that's where it all starts. We have to go back there to find the answer to our question. So again, what God said was very easy to understand, and there was no reason to question him, because it was so clear, and the choice was very, very obvious. Yes or no. There was no gray area there. And then the enemy comes along. The tempter, if you will. Basically saying, oh, come on. It won't hurt. Just this one time will be okay. Just this one little bite or one little look or one little, it'll be okay. God didn't really mean die. That's not what that really meant. He just wants to take away all your fun. So go ahead. It'll be okay. Where did it fall? Where did it fall? The second that doubt was embraced and the hand reached out to grab what was forbidden. And that very moment, it changed everything from that day forward for humanity. Everything. Because you see, in that moment of pause, in that moment of, I'm not sure, in that moment of doubt, that's all it took. And that same problem exists right now, thousands upon thousands and thousands upon thousands of years later, because we still wrestle with that same problem. Where did it fall? It has to go back to, where did it start? Where did the problem begin? It was right there. Because again, what was clear, what was seen, what was known was not difficult. It was not cloudy, if you will. It was abundantly clear, just like the sun shining in the sky. There was just no question about that. We can try to break down all the components of it and what's it made of, but the fact that it's there is not a question. The fact that God said, look upon everything that's before you, it's yours. You can have it. Just take care of it. Just leave this one thing alone. If you were a parent and you tell a child, leave that alone, what are they going to do? They're going to go see what that is, because they're going to want to know, why should I leave it alone? Okay, God gave them the why. He said, if you bother that after I've asked you not to, it comes at a cost. We say that same to our children. Leave that alone. It will hurt you. Whether it's a physical pain, whether it will cause a issue in life. I mean, there's so many different analogies that we can use that all go back to the same thing. It is parenting 101. Okay? And it was God saying, I'm not restricting you from making choices. In fact, I want you to make choices. I just want you to make the right ones. But if you don't, that doesn't stop me from loving you, because Romans very, very clearly says nothing can separate us from the love of God. But we can hinder that relationship. We have that in our own lives. There are many people that we still love that we are not related with. And I'm not talking about our bloodline. I'm talking about the fellowship is not the same. We still love them. We still care for them and would be sad if something happened to them. But we don't talk every day, if at all, because that relationship has been broken via some reason. Okay, where did it start? It started with some type of brokenness. It started with some type of barrier that was placed there, whether it was maybe something dishonest, maybe it was a hurtful word, maybe it was a hurtful action. God made it clear, don't do that. But the enemy comes along and says, well, why not? I mean, you should be able to if you want to. Well, God didn't say that you couldn't. Paul would later on bring that back up too in his writings. He would say everything is permissible, everything is lawful, but not everything is beneficial. That's common thought, okay? We're not even having to get scriptural or biblical with that. That's just life. Some things are good, some things are not. But you can decide which one you want to do. That's the love of God, that he gives us that ability. And so we see, knowing that, all right, the option was there. But the enemy can come along in our lives and cause that moment of pause, cause that moment of doubt. Really? I mean, but that's how we operate. That's how we operate, is we get to make the choice. That's how much God loves us. We get to decide. Now, I know there are some who teach completely opposite of that and say, oh, no, it's already been all determined and you don't get a say, and that's rubbish. Don't listen to that. Here what we find is where it started. That's also where it fell. We have to go back to the beginning. That's where understanding things all go there. And so we sometimes can't look into that depth of understanding. How could God love me with everything that I've done? I mean, there's like an old song that I like. It says, Jesus, how could you love me? Oh, sweet Jesus, how could you love me? Oh, when I had a chance between good and bad, I picked bad 2 out of 3. He knew that because he wants you to be you. We get to make the choice. But the result of that one act of disobedience, changed the course of humanity forever. The very things that we see right now going on before us, the unbelievable things that we see taking place today, the unimaginable things that we hear today, they all come from this one moment. And they were all strengthened and fired and encouraged through one lie. Where did it fall? We have to go back to the beginning to find the axe head. We'll pick back up on that tomorrow as we continue right here at Making It Simple. God bless you. Have a great day.